How would you feel if I told you that I'm not actually playing Bloons Tower Defense right now? Well, technically I am, but this version wasn't made by Ninja Kiwi. In fact, it was created by a game designer named Samadi. And get this, everything that you see here was coded on the website Scratch. Now, if you don't know, Scratch is mainly designed for people who are first learning how to begin coding games, as it provides ready-made coding blocks that you can then put together and experiment with in order to begin learning. But there are a few people out there who have decided to push the limits of what's possible to create within this coding environment. Some of you watching this video have probably heard of the game designer Griffpatch, who managed to create a 2D version of Minecraft that has been played over 62 million times so far. And Samadi's games, they're pretty popular as well. In fact, they just recently celebrated hitting 1,000 followers, which is a real accomplishment on Scratch. But the coolest part is, they decided to put their skills towards specifically remaking several different Bloons Tower Defense games, so let's take a little time to explore each of them together. First, I want to check out one of their oldest games, which is actually sort of a cross between Bloons Tower Defense 1 and Bloons Super Monkey. And I know the cover art is supposed to say Bloons TDS, but I can't help seeing it as BTD 5 every time that I look at it. But in any case, the actual game functions like BTD 1 in theory. However, the difference is that all you get to do is put down a single Super Monkey on the map, which you can already afford on round 1. And with it, you get a lot more upgrades than normal as well. So the idea is that you'll see how far you can get after finding the best spot for your Super Monkey and then picking the correct upgrades. And after a few tries, I settled for this spot on the map, mainly because it's in the center and offers a few points where the Super Monkey should be able to catch the balloons. Now, as far as the upgrades go, you'll notice that at first, it only costs $100 to upgrade your range, which you can afford to do after just one round. However, the catch is that it barely actually gives you any more range than what you had before, and then the next range upgrade costs $500. This too doesn't add much. However, with the position that I have my Super Monkey, it does allow it to hit balloons at the beginning of the track and fire down another straight path, which is a big advantage. And after that, there is one more range upgrade to get before you have the option to buy Epic Range, which would cover nearly the entire map. However, with the dart projectile being somewhat slow, this would actually be a bad decision to make. So instead, you want to upgrade to the Laser Vision, which I believe is a faster projectile, but it also gives it a Pierce of 2 instead of 1, which greatly helps as well. But really, it's just a stepping stone to the much more powerful Plasma Vision, which has a much higher Pierce, along with being a really fast projectile. At this point, it then makes sense to get the Epic Range, which is actually the final range upgrade, and like I said, covers basically the whole map. This held strong for a while as I saved up for the Sun God, but unfortunately, I lost just before I could afford it, and I can only assume that the final upgrade would have been the Temple. Next up we have BTD 1 again, but this time, it really is a true recreation of the first Bloons Tower Defense game, with the original towers and all. And from this point moving forward, I'm going to begin using a Turbo Warp link that is provided in the description to play these games, as they will eventually crash on the regular Scratch website if you don't use that link. And if that doesn't tell you just how much Samadi is pushing the limits of Scratch with their projects, I don't know what else to say really. It's also really cool how even the menu screen works the same as it does on BTD1 normally, although I do have to say, once you actually start playing, there is a major difference. You see, towers cannot actually be upgraded in this version of the game, which I can only assume is because Samadi wasn't able to code that in at the time. Beyond that, you also can't sell your towers either. In any case, that's really the only thing missing, but I do have to say, it seems like spamming dart monkeys isn't nearly as effective as it normally is on the Flash version of BTD1. They seem to be more prone to missing, which makes it hard to get the full value out of their range. I just barely survived on round 20 and figured I would experiment a bit with other towers, but after doing so, I concluded that dart monkey spam is probably still our best bet after all. Now I do have to say, it's cool that Samadi added a custom tower of his own that can fire spiked balls in 4 different directions at once. I'm not sure if this was something that was exclusive to BTD4 because I know that game had some weird towers, but I did buy it without reading the description, which was my mistake because I had actually thought that it was going to be a regular Spiko pole, which is why I put it right here. Now eventually, I was able to save up for the Super Monkey, which I have to say, seems to be a lot better than it normally is in BTD1, and also, this is literally the first time I've gotten to play this game without it having a crazy amount of lag. It's almost a surreal experience, honestly. Now pretty soon, I was able to beat all 50 rounds as well, despite how poorly my run had started, and I also just want to give a huge shout out to Pro Scratch 7 as well, who made their own version of BTD1 that does provide you with tower upgrades, along with some new features that the old BTD games never had as well. Mainly, there is a save and load game function, a sandbox mode, which is seriously so cool to have in BTD1, although I guess you could always use cheat engine, but then again, the Flash version would be lagging if you tried to do this anyways, and you still wouldn't have the option to send balloons out either. Beyond that, he also added an endless mode with its own custom rules, so yeah, needless to say, Pro Scratch 7 definitely lives up to their name. Now, I'm really excited to show you Samadi's most recent BTD remake, as he has now gotten all the way up to the 4th game, which is what you saw me playing during the intro of this video. And let me tell you, this remake is absolutely incredible. I mean, literally, everything is basically perfect, and on top of that, you also get to use all the premium towers that normally cost money on the Flash version of BTD4 as well. So naturally, I had to try out the watermelon cannon, which honestly seems to be pretty powerful for its price early on. After that, I got the flame cannon as well, and I have to say, like, why hasn't Ninja Kiwi brought this tower back exactly? It is completely unique from any tower in BTD6 as far as I can tell, in that it not only functions as a flamethrower, but also has the lowest fire rate of any tower I have ever seen in Bloons Tower Defense. But the trade-off is that, even as a tier 0, it already does a ton of damage per shot. I also got down the Beekeeper, although I have gotten to use this as a special agent in BTD5 before, but it is cool that I now have the option to upgrade it like a regular tower. All in all, this was a genuinely cool experience for me, and I'm going to be totally real for a second. As a young kid, growing up with BTD4, my mom didn't really have extra money and I couldn't ask to get Ninja Kiwi coins to actually purchase these premium upgrades. So for me, this is literally the first time that I've actually seen most of these towers before. So it was like a genuinely wholesome experience getting to play this version of BTD4. And I want to thank Samadi for making that possible. Now of course, I only began to scratch the surface, I didn't even mean to make that pun, of what this BTD4 remake actually has to offer. And if you want to check out these awesome projects for yourself, I will have Samadi's account linked in the description of this video, along with it being in the pinned comment. They certainly deserve the support. And if you want to see my review of BTDX, which is also a fan-made BTD game, click the video that appeared on your screen before it's too late.